I'm super excited for episode 17 of The Real Side of Real Estate, where we keep it real and raw and uncut. I'm going to be having Kayla Andrade on, the founder of Ontario Landlord Watch, ambassador to FrontLobby, and Landlord Credit Bureau. This is going to be a great one. Stay tuned. Thank you so much for coming on. You know what? It's been a while. I've been trying to get you. You're so busy, girl.
I know.
You're so busy. Like, you're all over talking in Cambridge. You're talking over there in Toronto, here in Hamilton.
You have to be. It's advocacy work. You have to be everywhere. Yeah. And if there's an invitation, I will eventually get to you. I will. And I'm excited to be here. And I want to thank you for doing this. Real estate education is key.
Awesome for coming. Thank you so much for coming. You said you went to an event last night.
Yeah, so we did a little fundraiser.
I'm interested to know where that event was. And I'm interested to know, was there any MPs there?
Well, I didn't see the MPs or the MPPs there, but there was city councilors. I actually ran into the mayor of Waterloo there.
Oh, wow.
She's the only one that voted against the renovation licensing in Waterloo.
Oh, that's a nice mayor. Oh,
I got to thank her in person, and we had our city councilors there that I was actually invited by one of them. So it was really nice to spend some time with them, connecting with them as well, but getting to meet other investors in the community and definitely networking. So it was great.
That's definitely rewarding, for sure. That's definitely rewarding. And meeting those people in the fundraiser, did they actually meet their goals in the fundraiser?
I don't know yet. They definitely got pulled in some money. I definitely put my $20 in to pick a cork, and then they give you a bottle of wine. I don't drink wine, but it was definitely had to put it out there for the food bank. I definitely know it's another service that is desperately needed in our communities, and it's obviously growing. So sure. Quite a bit of people. I think it was like well over 300 people.
300 people.
Yeah. So I think I gotta have another conference and invite these people.
Wow. Well, food banks. There's a record number of people going to the food banks nowadays.
Oh yeah. But we also got abused to it too. We got people needing it, and then we got people abusing it, and I think that's with every system that we have. That's
with every system that we're experiencing.
Yeah.
And record levels of people using the food banks. It could be because of affordability. It could be because of all the other things that are happening.
But don't worry, the federal government got you with that little rebate. They got you, man. They got you.
Oh, yeah.
You're having steak tonight.
That rebate is great. So I wanted to ask you, Kayla, what got you started with all of this? Because you know what? It's an interesting road, and it's an interesting place to be. You may have some enemies. You know what I mean? You may have people that don't like you.
Just one that I know of. She likes to try to call me 44 times in a half an hour.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, police are already on it and investigating her.
44 times in an hour.
Yeah. Half an hour. 44 and a half an hour.
Sounds like my ex-girlfriend.
Oh. Do you know that's criminal harassment?
That's nuts. So, like, what got you started into this? Like,
okay.
I feel like you're a landlord yourself, and you've dealt with issues.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know what? I want to fight for justice, and you know, it's nobody's doing it. Nobody's actually standing up for the landlords right now, and it's unfortunate because I'm a landlord myself, and I'm seeing that there are groups, but they're just so spread out and not like there's no unity.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I started off being a landlord at the age of 18.
At 18?
18,
wow.
had a child at that time as well. But like we bought the house and then we had the child. And, you know, that was our start into, you know, real estate, selling it, getting into fiveplexes, sixplexes, triplexes. Now we have
18.
18 was the first one. It's now I'm 40. So like we have, but we have 18 doors that we manage ourselves and that we obviously look, but I do other investments as well. We get into like the precious metals and my husband's into the stocks. He just gives me updates. I don't really follow it. But we started off at 18 getting into real estate and we just slowly started like building more units as we felt comfortable. We have one of our properties like completely paid off in order to like, you know, and you know, it took a while though. Like I was eating craft dinner, you know, like we have 4 children.
Like what made you get into it at 18? At 18, I was partying. I was having fun. I was worried about
I was still partying.
I was worried about my hair. I was worried about what I was gonna wear tonight, and what car I was gonna drive, and at 18, what gave you that entrepreneurial spirit? Was it your parents?
It's my husband's parents. So they're Portuguese Italian. Okay. I'm Newfie. I'm usually like the renter, and my family's a renter. So that's when I advocate. I like to take it from like a landlord and a tenant. So my husband's family, from the grandfather, his father, his uncles, like it's a whole
they're all investing in real estate.
They're all investing in real estate, and that was always just what he knew. And being in a playpen with his dad while he was working on rental units, and obviously he knew that was where he wanted to be. So when he got into right after high school, it was like, okay, do you want to go to the college, or do you want $10,000 to go towards a semi? Right. And he's like, I'll take the $10,000, please. And then after that, they just from Brantford and moving ourselves into Cambridge and getting us into more rental units. And then we had this one rental unit. It was a beautiful one. It was owned by the bank. It was $249,000. Yeah, 2009. 2009. It was beautiful. It was like 2 units were completely.
Was this in Brantford?
Cambridge. This one was Cambridge.
Okay.
Owned by the bank. It was 2 units were stripped down to their absolute studs. So there was a handyman TLC little project that my husband got to take a look at. Those units were all individually metered. So water, gas, hydro, all 2 bedrooms, good sizes. It was like my husband went in and took a look, and he's like, all right, I'm just going to bring my dad and take... No, you're not showing your dad. We're going to the real estate agent right now. We're putting an offer for what they want. So we bought this property, and as he's there and he has this property, we had a city councillor or a potential city councillor. She was running for the election. And when she was running for the election, she came by the ward that she was in, which is Ward 4. And she was telling my husband about this bylaw and that it would make him responsible for their tenants' delinquent utility bills. And I'm like, whoa, I bought this place because it was individually metered for all utilities. And now you're going to tell me.
This was in Cambridge.
In Cambridge, all in Cambridge. All of my properties are in Cambridge as of right now, until it gets into Costa Rica. And we'll get into that. But anyways, and all of the stuff that we were dealing with and getting to know that this was a bylaw. This was a motion that was being brought to council. We knew that we had to get more landlords to know this is what was happening. I started to call every landlord on Kijiji and saying, hi, my name is... In
2009.
In 2010. This was about 2010. It started to roll out.
That's a long time ago. 16 years ago.
I know. I mean, you can see videos on YouTube of back in the day. I look so... I'm like, how did anyone listen to me? And then we end up getting the landlords from Kijiji, and I said to them, we have to stop this. We have to get down to City Hall. I started a little protest.
Oh, nice.
Outside of City Hall, and they knew I was doing it, and then I got a letter saying that I couldn't have a protest outside of City Hall.
Oh my God.
So I called the media, told them that the city said I can't do it, and then they called the city for a reply, and then the city called me and told me that I can't have my protest.
Oh my God.
So we just had not knowing how many people were going to show up, not knowing we had so many landlords showing up. We had city councilors show up. We had media showing up. So it was so nice to kind of start to see the community growing just on water billing. So I started having to get obviously we went back and forth with our city for 4 years. It was a policy and put in place where, first there was a deposit of $400 for tenants, then they took it away and put it to $250, then they took it away. So it was a lot of back and forth and dragging it out.
Cambridge, eh? Wow.
Oh, it was horrible for 4. And then we're like, okay, well, obviously they're going to do it. We know that they're allowed to do it through the municipal act. So let's get a petition and let's get it to the province to say, dude, you have to stop this. 1, it's not fair. We're not the user. But number 2, landlords at that time, we couldn't even evict tenants if they stopped paying their utility bills underneath the N5. So a lot of it came down into us now saying, no, we need a petition. We got a petition. It was drafted by a lawyer out in Toronto. Nice. But just like government, we had a changeover. So all those petitions tend to kind of die down, and then you got to build up that reputation again with the other new elected officials that come in and keep trying to trotting away. And I'm still fighting the water billing though. We are
still till now.
Yeah, we have a city councillor, Helen Schwery. She got voted in through a by-election, and she was campaigning, and one of the landlords had told her, he's like, hey, I want you to bring this back to council. And he explained why, and she got elected in, and she she hold up her end of the bargain, and
well, that's great of her. That's nice of
she
her.
brought the motion forward, trying to get landlords off the hook. But the city has stated that it's going to be a $1 million price tag.
$1 million price tag.
To switch it from the landlords being responsible for the tenants' delinquencies, for them to be responsible for the delinquency. So, of course, does anybody want to vote to put $1 million on taxpayers? So she obviously, thinking like a common sense person, said, let's do a task force. Let's see if we can find some savings, like, because we want to know what city's kind of doing. Yeah. And initially they said it was $1 million because they had this magical number that was, there was 9,500 tenants inside of Cambridge. And we're like, whoa, like, where did you get that number? Oh, well, we took the 2021 census and we plucked 60% of the people in the census, and that's what they're basing that number on. So when they think about water meters to be changed in order to do a trickle effect to it, they also end up saying like they need to hire 6 more staff members. And I'm like, why are you hiring 6 more staff members to take on 9,500 accounts when you only have 2 staff members plus a supervisor to manage 40,000? So we end up having this task force. They brought in homeowners, they brought in tenants, they brought in landlords, and everyone had the consensus that no, landlords should not be responsible for the tenants' delinquent utility bills, because deep down what's going to happen is that we're going to see people evicted for not paying their water bill now, because we can now apply to the board. And I also told them that we can all report tenants' unpaid utilities to FrontLobby. It's going to go on the tenant's credit. So now, just for tenants not being able to pay their water bill, we're going to impact their tenancy by having it on their credit, because they're not going to. It's going to look very bad when they're doing the accommodation.
And that's quite interesting. Like that's a fairly new thing.
Yeah.
That what FrontLobby's doing. I actually use FrontLobby myself.
It's great.
And I use it for checking people's credit, and it checks more than just the credit. It checks if they have any issues with the law. It does a lot of thorough things. And I think you need to do it when you're vetting a tenant nowadays.
100%.
Vetting a tenant nowadays is like a full-time job.
Yeah.
It is a full-time job, and I'm sure you know that. But this new service of being able to report when someone's delinquent on utilities or on rent, that's massive, because getting to report that on their credit will affect their credit.
Oh, it's not like it's the monthly rent reporting. It's like you don't need the tenant's consent to report a debt. You don't need the tenant's order from the landlord and tenant board to report the debt. You're literally just reporting because you have a lease with your tenant stating how much you're going to pay. But you can also help your tenants build their credit by having that rental payment history being shared with the credit bureaus. And you're able to like tell tenants, like, this is my tool. This is what I use. You don't want to pay me. This is the process that's going to be, because there needs to be consequences. And that's something that we've never had. And we finally have it after 5 years.
I definitely agree with you. Now, the question is that something you could put on a lease? Is it legal to put that on a lease?
Put what on a lease? Saying
if you don't pay your rent on time or utilities on time, we have the right to report that on your credit.
You can always put it in your lease. Actually, FrontLobby has clauses for your application for the credit check, and they have the clause for your lease. Is it required to have those clauses to report a debt? You don't.
Oh, so you can report without consent?
Yes. Welcome.
Hallelujah.
You're welcome.
Hallelujah.
I know. This is why I became the ambassador.
This is gems. We're dropping gems right now, ladies and gentlemen, because a lot of landlords don't know that.
No.
So you don't know what you don't know, right? And I actually learned a lot of things from you about what's happening in Hamilton, right? And you call it a dumpster fire, and I kind of agree with you, right? Like, I can't say this is a fight between landlords and tenants. It's not, because you know what? I got great tenants. I love my tenants. I did take the time to vet them. I did take the time to check everything. I don't accept credit reports from people.
Never. God.
You know what I mean? I do the vetting myself.
They're like, but I seen it on their phone. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care if you've seen it on their phone. I don't care if it's paperwork and I'm like, pull it yourself. Just make sure that you have the tenant's permission to pull their credit. You do need their consent to pull their credit, but do not accept it from.
It's just this day and age with the AI and everything. It's so easy to make a credit report with, ChatGPT and, Photoshop. And,
Photoshop is...
And, I've heard of a lot of... I'm from Hamilton. I've been here all my life. I've heard all kinds of stories. The stories that I've heard would make you laugh, would make you cry. Like, I've heard an abundance of stories. But I got to say, in the last 5 to 10 years, I say 5 years, the city has went through a transition, and it's gentrified drastically.
Oh, yeah.
Like, a lot of Torontonians have moved in. A lot of out-of-towners have moved in. And the tenant pool has, it's more young professionals. We're not getting as many applications, from that were sketchy. A lot of sketchy applications used to get 10 years ago, worried about, like...
We still get it in Cambridge. Don't rub it in, dude.
you still get them, but it's not as many as they used to be.
Yeah.
The city has gentrified, and there's a lot of young professionals in the city in Hamilton. And I got to say that the renting pool is stronger than it's ever been in Hamilton. And that's why it's a little frustrating with all the extra stuff that they're adding on to these landlords now, when we have a massive shortage on housing.
Yeah.
So I wanted to touch on that, Kayla. The provincial government is saying we have a massive shortage on housing, right? The municipal government is putting roadblocks in the way of landlords, investors,
and then blaming it on the province.
Who is...
Don't believe everything you see on media. That's what you gotta...
Who's going to be held accountable for their actions, right?
Yeah.
And why are they putting all these roadblocks in front of us? We were talking about Hamilton. I want to refer back to Hamilton. You said a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
So can you please elaborate on what you meant by dumpster fire? Because there's a lot of viewers, a lot of people that want to know what's happening in Hamilton.
Well, first I want to say about when I first started getting into like Hamilton and how it was, getting good properties. You're like able to pick them up, and then it became a diamond in the rough, and you're like, wow, look at Hamilton blossom. The prices of houses got crazy. Yeah. And then you got yourself an NDP mayor. And then things start going downhill. And if anyone wants to know what it's like to put NDP in the province power, look at Hamilton, and this is what you're going to get.
Yeah, and we were talking about this before. The last time Hamilton was very prosperous was 2022. Mm-hmm. In 2022, the prices were up, everything was great, and rents were up, investors were out and about. Mm-hmm. I'm a realtor. I've been a realtor for 15 years. You know that. I see investors shying away.
Oh, yeah.
I see investors saying, why? Why Hamilton? They're putting this. They're putting all these roadblocks in our way.
And it's like we started to see that it's not just Hamilton. I think it was happening for all of Ontario. We all started seeing like short-term rentals being the out for some of these long-term landlords who didn't want to follow the RTA or deal with the landlord and tenant board. They started to catch on, and then they decided to say, okay, we're going to do a ban on short-term rentals.
And that's where it started. And you know what? That's where it started. I had short-term rentals, and I had a mixture. And we were doing great with them. And you know what? We were helping people that were tourists coming to the city that were short-term people, right? Like people that were just going to be there for a week for a hockey tournament, people that were visiting.
My husband was just out in Hamilton last night for basketball, right?
Yeah. It was, we were offering a service, and it was great for Hamilton because people that come to Hamilton, they don't know how beautiful it is. They don't know the waterfalls. They don't know all the things I
just like that hill coming down.
The escarpment. Like, people don't know all the beauty that the city has to offer. Yeah. But when they're coming here to visit, and they're staying at an Airbnb, I have an Airbnb by Gage Park. Gage Park is a beautiful park. Like, they get to see the beauty of the city, right? Mm. And why are they limited just to a hotel where they can't have all their friends and family there, and there's no kitchen,
big families, their kids,
and all those things, right? So the big thing for the city was when the mayor was elected. You say the NDP mayor, let's shut down Airbnbs because that's the root cause of a shortage on housing.
Or affordable housing.
Affordable housing.
That no one knows the definition of.
I can't believe that. Like, they're blocking people building. That's what's causing the shortage.
And the short-term rentals in itself, like, it fits the needs not only for the kids coming with their sports and having bigger families and the tourism, but what happens when a landlord does need to fix their aging infrastructure and they need the tenant to relocate for a short time period, in which a short-term rental would help that individual get into short-term accommodations until that new renovation is done, because we have aging infrastructure. These buildings are not going to stand forever. Not like government, though. They can totally, like, reposition all their people out of their social housing, public housing, and then demolish it. No problems, no questions asked, not in the front page of the newspaper. But then when it comes down to the landlords who need to do it in order to not be fined or be taken to the landlord and tenant board because they are not able to do the repairs. A lot of people think that we're able to, like, do renovations with tenants inside of the place.
No.
And it's like, nah, like, are we going to give 24-hour written notice every single time that we need to enter? Are we going to be able to have to pay the tenants to replace their belongings if there's drywall dust, or we get paint, or do we have to move the tenants' belongings in order to put flooring down and to do the painting? Like, I want everything out of my room if I'm doing painting. You want me to dance around that or have my contractors have to dance around that? No, it's not as easy as people think it is, because they're not in the game and they don't have their boots in the trenches like we do.
Exactly. And you know what, like you said, if you need, temporary stay somewhere, or what if you have a life-altering situation and you need somewhere to stay, or like
McMaster, the hospital
your
here,
house burnt down or something, like you need a temporary stay, or like you're studying for a course for a week. So to knock down all the Airbnbs, and their rule was you have to live in the Airbnb and rent Airbnb a bedroom or the basement unit, which is great.
Until you're deemed to be a rooming house and your insurance doesn't like.
And that's the thing. So it didn't just stop there.
Yeah.
It started there.
Yeah.
So then they went to the vacant tax.
Yeah. So you got this.
The vacant tax is like, it's frustrating. Yeah. It's very frustrating. I own the property. I pay the mortgage. I pay the property tax. I shovel the snow. I do everything. I should have the right to do whatever I want with my property. Unless you're paying my utilities or paying my property tax or paying my mortgage, what right does the government have to tell me that I have to have a tenant in there?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of an overreach of power, in my opinion. Well, what are your thoughts on
that? What happened is because our landlords in the group are like, fine then, I'll just keep it empty. You guys want to not allow me to do short term? I'm just going to keep it empty. And I'm going to keep it empty until the rules at the provincial level change. And that's when they started getting word that people were leaving their units empty. So that's why they decided to do the vacancy tax. And again, it's not just for the investors. It's also for everyone in the city that you become a pain in the butt with.
It's for everyone. And what if you don't want tenants? What if you don't want to be in that business? It's not for everyone, Kayla.
No.
It's definitely not for everyone, right?
If I wanted to keep my place empty, just a way for me to escape my kids, like I want it empty because I might want to do my podcast room there. I don't know if I am or not, but when you put yourself into a tenancy, you can't just get out of that tenancy. I can't tell a tenant to vacate their home because I want to put an office. No. I can't put them in there to say that I want it for storage for my rental unit. You literally legitly have to live in it, and you have to live in it for a year. So why would I want to try to put it in if I do have that plan and that goal to do that within that 6 to 7 months? No, it's not going to be practical for me to be wrapped down with anybody. Or what if I need to do renovations? I'm planning out my one unit that I have right now. We need to do the water lines and the sewage lines. We're waiting for the city to do it. We're going to do ours at the same time. And a part of my property, there is a room that I got to destroy. Now it's going to be like, now I got to do a renovation to it, and I have to evict the tenant. And now you're going to deal with all the bullshit that comes with it.
And the thing is, the tenant has the right to come back at the same rent.
Rent.
So
unless you're demolishing the property, and that's the one thing that pisses me off with these tenant unions are coming out telling elected officials that landlords are getting us to leave just so they can put makeup on a pig and just put paint and some flooring and call it a day, and then they jack up the rent. I'm like, no. You get to move back in at the same rate, and it says this information when they're getting filed. Like, they have it right on their forms.
So the biggest grievance is not really landlords and tenants. It's more of a divide and conquer what they're trying to do.
Elected officials divide and conquer?
They're dividing the landlords and the tenants.
100%.
Right? And they're trying to conquer the situation. There's good tenants out there. There's great landlords out there. But let's be fair. Okay? If a tenant's been living in a property for 25 years and paying $700 for a whole house, if you could raise the rent 1% or 1.5% a year, you're never going to catch up to what the rent is now.
No.
Right? And with inflation and costs going up and utilities going up and everything going up, that landlord's not recouping.
No, but their cost is going up.
Yeah, their costs.
Their utilities are going up.
So this is where the creation of a slumlord comes, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm not going to get any extra money. I'm already paying out of pocket. Possibly a tenant's paying, possibly they're not, right? So there's two sides to the coin.
Yeah.
There's not just one side to the coin. You know what I mean? It's just looking at the tenant's perspective, and that's it. And the biggest grievance that we have as landlords is they're only taking a one-sided approach. They're not looking at the landlord's point of view. The tenant gets a free lawyer. The tenant, could be late to the meeting. The tenant can bring up 5 different situations on one hearing where it wasn't even talking about that. We weren't even talking about that in the hearing. You brought up 5 different things. And I've sat through these, Kayla. It's excruciating. It is.
Oh, it's painful.
Because, you're waiting for your time. You're waiting 8 hours on a video call where you can't even leave because you don't know if you're the next one called. And you're 8 hours. At the end of the 8 hours, they're like, well, unfortunately, we didn't get to your application.
You are now adjourned.
So we're going to have to remand it. Okay. How about the next time? It happened to me twice. So I watched applications go all day. And I was like,
you got to go back to the fact that we need a proper model for rent increases, because the rent control on the units are not going to keep up with the demand of aging infrastructure and the utilities and taxes and everything going through the roof. The other side of it is that if we worked a model in where if your property has utilities included or it's not included, is it a condo? Did your condo fees increase? Did your property tax increase? Because right now when there's a model of going to the landlord and tenant board, applying for an above the guideline rent increase, such a long process, a lot of information and putting like what you did as capital expenditures to get that AGI. And obviously it can only go maximum 9% over 3 years. So we look at like, what about a yearly thing? Why can't we do it like Alberta, where you can sit there and prove like, this is the model of like all my utilities for the properties, my expenses, and based on those expenses and inflation, this is now your new set rate, versus taking rent control off. Like tenant unions are trying to get rent control put back on to the new builds built after 2018. That's what they're also trying to do. And so we look at having the model that we need. It's a business. The numbers need to make sense. But if we're not allowing the landlords to make money, why am I going to be being the social agency for the government with no compensation? Why do I have to be the one to shelter my tenant from inflation, and I'm hitting it like a brick wall?
You get hit with everything, and the water bill comes to the landlord, like you were discussing, and any disputes, you got to figure it out with your tenant, because if you don't figure it out with your tenant, you fall for a 2-year wait in LTB. Maybe even 3-year wait.
Well, you're looking at a 3 to 4 month wait right now. It's gotten better over the but at the same time, just because you get your hearing doesn't mean it's not going to get adjourned.
They're not going to deal with it.
Doesn't mean it's going to get adjourned. It's going to get Section 83 of the Residential and Tenancy Act, because the tenant is falling, that they're going to be homeless, or if they have some type of emergency in their life that is going to result into them saying that Section 83 comes to play here, and we're going to delay or refuse the eviction. They have Section 82, which is the maintenance, but with Bill 60, they're now saying if you, as you take your tenant to the landlord and tenant board over non-payment of rent, if they are behind on their rent and they want to bring up maintenance issues at that hearing, they have to pay the landlord 50% of what they owe in order to do so. but tenants can still bring their maintenance concerns to the landlord and tenant board on their own, but the tenants have property standards. And this is another problem that our landlords are coming up, and we have to talk about it, because this is where if you're snow removal, ice buildup, if you have a tenant that's coming and complaining about one thing, the property standard comes in, just gives you a whole grocery list. They give you a timeline to say that you have to do it. And if you don't do it by that timeline, they're going to come and do it, and they're going to put it to your property taxes. And or they're going to say, you need more time. Okay, you need to come to a committee and explain to us why you need more time. You got to pay us $400 to have this meeting. So like that's the overall, like the tenants are so well protected, and we get it. Like there is some crappy landlords out there. Of course. But those crappy landlords are eventually going to go out of business. If we can create more supply, those crappy landlords are not going to get the tenants. We're the ones who are going to be, it's about the service that you're providing, the units that you're providing, making sure that you're dealing with it. Just like tenants bring in bed bugs, and that becomes our problem because they brought in the bed bugs. So it's like, well, how do you supposed to know if like the tenants brought it or if it was already there? And I'm like, the tenants know.
It's actually ridiculous to me when I hear a tenant doesn't pay the utilities, and they're bringing up these grievances in the LTB saying, you know, it's too warm or it's too cold. You're not paying you're behind in utilities, but yet you are complaining about it.
Yeah.
You're complaining about issues, but yet you haven't paid your rent. Isn't it by the law to pay the rent?
I can't. Like, I literally have a post that's going to go out regarding this because it's the mayor of Mississauga is trying to get the brakes put on Bill 60. But there is a section in the act that no matter if you have a maintenance or outstanding disputes with your landlord, that your rent needs to be paid on time.
Well, the rent has to be paid. Mortgages have to be paid. Property taxes have to be paid.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard the bank say, it's okay, you don't have to pay your mortgage this month?
Yeah.
Or the city saying, hey, you don't have to pay the property tax this month. It's okay, your tenant didn't pay you. We understand.
How come we don't even get a late fee? How come we don't get, like other provinces do it? You have a late fee. If you don't pay your rent on the first, you get a late fee. I'm happy with a late fee. If you want to be late, go ahead. Give me some late fees. Let's get some interest going on here. Why are Ontario and BC are the worst places to be investing in? Because they have this socialist mindset to how landlords are going to be that social agency to take the pressure off the taxpayers. But deep down, taxpayers are getting more pressure. They just don't know how. Because with the way that the landlords are leaving our industry, we're going to see more pressure coming from our elected officials to build more affordable housing, to build more social housing. They're going to have to pay more money as taxpayers for our hospitals, for our police, for our fires departments. We have the cost of tent cleanups when you have tent encampments. Now we're using our money and doing that. It's wasteful spending because the municipalities and are mismanaged this housing crisis. No one's calling them out for it. And they need to be called out for it because their restrictions and their bylaws after bylaws, like there's 9 things in Hamilton alone.
And we just mentioned, two of them? We mentioned Airbnb. Vacancy tax.
Water billing, technically. Yeah. Which
leads me to the next thing. Our lovely mayor got herself in some hot water. Right? And
that woman.
It was in the newspaper.
Yep.
And I guess one of her exes lives in one of the rental properties that she has. And she tried to get him out without going through the process of the LTB.
And her rent-eviction licensing.
Rent-eviction licensing. So I'm interested to hear your take. Tell us the story, because you're better at telling the story than I am. And
no, it's like it's these are like this information comes from me from landlords in Hamilton. So shout out to the landlords in Hamilton, like reaching out and telling me what's happening, because I can only pay attention to so much of what's I try to stay focused on the provincial, but we know that municipalities are like they got the doors open. And
but
like
this is a big story, because this is a mayor. This is the mayor's house, right?
It's the mayor, an NDP mayor. She's been she's been an owner into like believe it's the 90s that she's owned this property. It's like obviously definitely needs some renovations. Doesn't look like she even changed like anything in the property from the pictures that we've seen online.
So where's property standards there? Like where is it that elected officials are above the law, Kayla? Is it that if I'm an elected official, I don't have to abide by the law? Is the laws for us simple people? Like, where do they draw the line here, right? Like, property standards should be for everyone, right? LTB should be for everyone.
Yep.
It shouldn't be that I'm an elected official and I could get away with whatever I feel like.
Well, and that was the workaround, right? Trying to say that a property was so far into despair because she didn't do any work. And obviously, I don't know why she didn't do any work, even though it was her ex-spouse and there might have been some civil suit between the two. And he's supposed to do some of the work himself. But no matter what, he is a tenant.
Yes.
She's supposed to be doing the work to it. But it got so far into this state where she then tried to get it demolished. And so she ended up having...
So tell the story. So she went to an independent firm.
Yeah, she went to an independent engineer who came in to state that the place needed to be demolished. Obviously, it got fought, or a judge heard it, and he said that because it's a third party and not one from the city, sorry, good luck next time. And she filed again so quickly, which is like, what? Like, wow, like right before Christmas time, you're trying to kick this poor man out, and he's older as well.
Yeah.
And then it ended up turning out that she got denied that time around, but she had to do some emergency repairs to this property as well in that time frame. We haven't had any new updates. I'm hearing from the landlords that he's still in this property, so she doesn't have it demolished. But you see a little picture of it. Like it looks like you can save this property.
You can listen.
Save it.
I've flipped a lot of properties in Hamilton, and far worse than this property. Far worse, and it doesn't look like it needs to be demolished.
No.
And for her to do a workaround, and she's supposed to be the model citizen, and she's supposed to be the one that we follow in our city. She's the mayor. It's really, really discouraging as a landlord. It's really discouraging to know that if that happened to you or myself, we'd have to go to LTB.
You got to go to the LTB. You got to be able to go to the tenant. You got to give them proper notice that this is what's happening. You got to go. He can, vouch for his case at the landlord and tenant board if he was properly served, and he wasn't. And then there's landlords who got in like a freedom of information to say that she didn't have any application at the landlord and tenant board, and obviously I don't know the facts of if she got the renovation licensing, but you're supposed to go ahead and get a permit for all this stuff, and then you got to show evidence to the landlord and tenant board. You're supposed to have your hearing, and a sheriff is supposed to come and evict you. Doing an emergency demolition part of it and having the city, like now the city could potentially come in and shut you down, but they usually do it on a very, severe case that the property is like and is going to fall apart type of deal.
Yeah.
And then I think that's what she was trying to do in order to do it. And can't blame her. There's a lot of properties out there that is like, do we keep putting the work into it? We do want to demolish it, but again, like, are you planning to rebuild? Like, are you putting more supply into there? Like, no.
It's just the story didn't rub me the right way. It's your ex, right? And you could renovate that property.
When you got 9 bylaws on your city landlords and you're caught doing this, that's what that's not right. And waiting for her to publicly come out and say something. She hasn't even said anything publicly. Yeah,
and it's like we are held to a certain standard, and she doesn't have to abide by the standard, and that's why it didn't rub me the right way. And after that story, I was like, "Hey, Kelly, we gotta do a podcast because this is getting out of hand." And you're talking about the other things in Hamilton that I didn't even know about, like. We talked about if there's criminal activity by a tenant inside one of your rental units, you could be held accountable for that.
Bill 10 is at the provincial level. It came very quickly. Obviously, we have our conservatives, but I still will take my conservatives over a liberal NDP any day, and we need to show the conservatives our support. But Bill 10 is definitely a double-edged sword, so to speak, where you know that if you're a landlord and you've rented out to drug dealers and you're just collecting the rent and allowing them to operate, then you definitely should be held accountable. But we, at the same time, with the rules that we have as landlords, having to give tenants 24-hour notice, not doing it very often because obviously it could be, considered harassment. How are we supposed to, like, tenants can hide an elephant? You know what I mean? Like
a snake, an elephant.
They know we're coming. They know they're going to be able to try to, like, hide your pills, hide your sex trafficking. Like, what is, like, something that we can kind of, do to better protect ourselves? So now the landlords have to get themselves out and get them having witnesses, having a third party inspector coming into the rental units where you're getting a report to say, like, this is what they are. I just teamed up with Canadian Tenant Services where it's retired RCMP officers and law enforcement to come in and do these type of inspections for the landlords, because then you're looking at the credibility of having that company to come in, give you a report, who they are, and being able to better protect yourself, because we're seeing desperate times comes for desperate measures for some tenants. And how do we know that they're not going to result to crime because the times are getting tough?
So that leads me to my next thing here. All this increased pressure on the landlord, increased pressure on investors, mortgage rates changing and going up overnight. Like, not overnight, they're just going up like drastically. They went up like nine times. And say you're not getting your rent. They're behind in utilities. You're pretty much going to lose your property because of a bad tenant or bad tenants. This is not going to be good for the overall crime rate in the city either. Because landlords may, if their back's against the wall, like we seen that story about the one landlord that actually shot his tenant, right? And that was really an unfortunate situation. But you
see how fast media said like that they weren't behind on their rent though?
Yeah, how bad does things have to get, right? Like, do you need to push a tenant to that extreme? Like,
no, you know why? Because deep down, like, tenants have access to rent banks.
Yeah.
We have the mayor of Toronto coming out and she's like, excited, there's rent banks. Yeah, rent banks. Like, she's selling this program. Now, again, like, it's taxpayers' money. We don't really want to tell a lot of people what's going on, but as landlords, I like to say if the tenant is in a hardship situation, I say, hey, here you go. Like, there's your N4. You're going to need this. Bring it to this agency. Tell them what's going on. They're going to help you. Get you to get caught up to help avoid eviction. But when you're starting to make it look like it's like a payday loan situation, taxpayers are paying for that, guys. Like, this is where the duplications of services, the wasteful money, the mismanagement of this housing crisis, just by having improper leaders in your city. Now, we look at the mayor, we look at what she's did, but deep down, like, it's not just the mayor, it's the council. It's also their staff. Like, we can't just look at it, and then that's when you see changes in a city, the mayor goes. But people don't understand how powerful those little councilor voices are.
Yeah, and you know what? I know there's more people to it than just the mayor. But like, when does it stop? Like, where does the buck stop? Like, what do we need to do to voice our opinion in a strong way as landlords? Like I said to you earlier, I have great tenants. I don't need to be in this fight, but you're
advocating for them too.
I'm advocating for landlords because it's justice. It's not fair to landlords. And on top of all of this, they have another thing with the whole temperature and the AC thing coming out.
God.
Like, this is like getting out of hand. Now you have to provide your tenants with AC.
That's what
AC is a luxury.
Toronto tried to do the same thing. Ford came out and said, Bill 97, we're allowing tenants to install their own equipment. They have to provide the equipment information to the landlord, and they have to pay extra hydro if the utilities are included. We had questions like, well, whose responsibility is it to make sure that it's installed properly, making sure tenants have it installed properly, because if not, it's going to cause damages. I'm going to give the tenant an N5 because of the damages. But again, he understood that, yes, you should be able to have it, but a lot of these properties cannot be retrofitted to put air conditioning.
Well, if you have boilers, right? If you have a boiler, like the property that I have here is, it's boilers,
yeah,
right? So it's boiler heat. You have to put wall units. You have to put window units.
Yeah.
And
they want you to provide those floor models, though. That's where she's going with this.
Yeah, but like, when will it stop? Like all of these things, it's just been one thing after another thing after another thing after another thing, and it's gonna push some of these landlords to the brink of losing their property.
Yeah.
And some of them already are on the brink of losing their property. Yeah. And we have a housing shortage. So if landlords can't rent out their units and investors are not buying units anymore, what is the end game for the municipality? What are they planning to do? Are there going to be big corporations that are going to come take over? Is it going to be like a BlackRock situation where they're buying all the single family homes in the U.S.?
I think the government wants to be in the business of housing. That's my prediction. I think because if you're going to give money for rent to someone who's on assistance, that money gets to be put back into the government because they're the ones that are going to be managing that in particular property. Is it to feed nonprofit housing organizations where they can just top them up with government grants? But they don't like the private sector because we're literally the solution. We're the solution so taxpayers don't have to keep paying to build, manage, maintain, and subsidize government housing. But people want to look at private landlords as the enemy. But if you deep down look at what we're doing to not put that responsibility, because when you get into government housing, you win the lottery. There's no incentives to move out of there.
No.
There's no more incentive to move out of government housing. No. Why don't they start reporting the tenants' payment history to FrontLobby to help them get out of government housing?
So the funny thing is, housing, when you're part of housing, and I know some people that are part of housing,
yeah,
they're the real slumlords.
Oh yeah, 100%. I get so many calls from tenants.
They're the real slumlords.
Yeah.
You think that they go by property standards?
Yeah.
You think their units are safe, clean? And no. So you're telling us as private landlords that we have to have this certain standard, but your units are substandard.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know how, because that's a model that's unsustainable. We have people living in a 2-bedroom townhouse with garage, water included. They have to pay the gas and the hydro. Their cost $120 a month, and the taxpayers are subsidizing the rest.
So, like, you know, I was mentioning this to you the other day. In the U.S., it's a lot different. For like certain places, the red states and stuff, they have a program called Section 8, which is our welfare, Ontario works. And if you're renting a unit, first off, you got to qualify for Section 8. And if you're going to rent a unit, that unit's got to qualify for Section 8. And if you have any issues with the landlord, the Section 8 will cut you off. Welfare will cut you off.
They're strict with it.
And they pay the landlord directly.
Yeah.
They don't pay you. They pay you, the landlord, directly. And if you don't pay in certain red states, and you're behind, they give you a grace period. And then afterwards, 15 days, the sheriff is knocking at your door.
And this is where you'll have some listeners be like, oh, we have that here in Ontario. And I'm like, no. What happens is that the tenants always can choose if they want it to go directly to the landlord. And if they choose that, they can cancel it at any time. The only time I can see it going back to the landlord is if the tenants did that, but didn't have the money going to the landlord, and now an agency had to build them out. They forced the tenant to sign a piece of paper saying, we're going to bail you out, but the paycheck, the rent check is going to go to the landlord. And then you'll see them potentially sign it because obviously they need it. But if they go down an eviction path, which they always do, we're seeing agencies pay out $10,000 to get someone out of an eviction, and then just to go down not paying again. And then they end up on the streets after their time frame on the second.
And you have these weasel lawyers, and they know who they are, and you and I both know who they are.
Oh, I know who they are.
And they promise these tenants the world.
No,
I'm gonna get you $20,000-$30,000. I'm gonna throw the book at them and whatever. And they make a living of people's misery. And they do everything in their power to make it look like all these landlords are greedy, money hungry, rich, and
kicking out tenants left, right, and center.
Yeah, and it's just so much injustice for the tenants.
Yeah.
And most of them are dirty lawyers too. They're not by the ethics. They don't go by ethics. They don't have any integrity.
Well, we got legal aid, right? You got legal aid as well that, is obviously funded by taxpayers to provide legal aid to tenants who are in this situation. Obviously, we see them advocating with elected officials, trying to say that this is happening, that's happening, because if you can paint this picture that landlords are evicting tenants left, right, and center, and they don't know their rights and they need to be protected, then they can say, we need more funding to our legal services so that we can help these type of people. I could tell you right now in Ontario, our tenants know more of their rights than our landlords know their rights.
100%. Like, I didn't even know some of the stuff that's happening in Hamilton. And a lot of the landlords, they're very busy with work or whatever they're doing with their lives, or maintaining their properties. That's a full-time job, or managing their properties, which is also another full-time job. to even keep up with all the changes.
Well, your council, I think your council and your committee meetings, like they're not in the evening hour where people can show up. Like you got to take the day off work in order to do it. Is a letter, writing a delegation to the council going to be enough? No, they really like people standing there delegating to have their voices heard. The tenants have, obviously get funding. The landlords associations
groups, they got free advocacy groups. They have
the time
and they have the time. And you have people there fighting for the tenants that are getting paid by the government to fight for the tenants.
The tenants are fighting the government to tell the government that their rents, they want their rents to be as much as government nonprofit housing rent geared to income should be. They're trying to force the government officials to make private landlords a social agency.
Yeah.
And not have any, they should be fully protected. We should be giving them just because you don't make enough. That shouldn't be their problem. It should be our problem.
It's very unfortunate, and that's why, I admire what you're doing. Like I really admire what you're doing. You're fighting for landlords.
I'm fighting the landlords. I'm fighting for the good tenants. I'm fighting for the taxpayers who've watched our money just go down the drain for mismanagement.
So my next question is, why are the landlords so divided? Like, why is there so many groups that are just like, oh, this and that, and they probably have personal interests or personal things in the way that they don't want to unite? What is the big thing that keeps landlords from uniting? I would think that you would unite right away, knowing that this affects each and every one of us, right? Like, why are we not as united as the tenants are when it comes to these issues? And why can't we be as united as the tenants are when it comes to these issues?
Well, it's unfortunate because you got to speak the truth. You got to speak the truth, and you got to say things that a politician won't say, and someone who's working with politicians don't want to say because they don't want to ruin the relationship with the potential elected officials that they have now. A lot of people reach out to me and they're like, hey, I'm on this association, but I like how you don't cut, you cut through the noise. You say it like it is because you can't cancel me. I stay home and I cook.
So it's a cancel culture situation where they're afraid of being canceled or
losing
maybe
sponsors,
losing their jobs or sponsorship. But whatever happened to fighting for justice? Like,
I think it's more about voices too, Manny. Like, I think if we look at having like boards, when you have boards, there's certain things that you can do and how you can do it because the board's got to vote on it. Like, that's why I'm only me. And I bring people on like you, and I'll invite other landlords to the roundtable discussion because I don't want to be slowed down by a board. I don't want to have to vote on anything. So I can see that could be a part of why the landlords associations are slowed down on the advocacy of like getting them out there a little bit more. But at the same time, they're also having to take their effort and who they have, and sometimes they're volunteers, and they also have to build that association. Then they have to have in-person meetings, but you need money, you need sponsors, you need memberships. We don't do any type of memberships. I don't ever want to charge a membership to our landlords.
You don't need money to get together. You don't need money to fight for justice. As we've seen, remember when we were shut down for COVID?
Don't remind me.
and the truckers said, F this. And they went to Ottawa and parked all their trucks and started honking their horns and, protesting. Yeah. It cost them.
Them a lot.
It cost them a lot of money.
More than money.
A lot of them lost their jobs. A lot of them, they just stood up for the rights of Canadians, right?
Yeah.
Like, they were the only reason things changed.
Yeah.
We would have probably been in lockdown up until now.
Oh, for sure.
Like, my son was born as a lockdown baby. Like, he, you know what I mean? He didn't even know what it was like to have friends and everything like that to go outside because during that time he was born, and during that time it was like 2 years of lockdown.
Yeah.
Right?
My kid was 2019.
So exactly. Same with my son. So in order to get change, I think it's going to take more than just writing a letter. I think it's going to take more than just, a petition. I think it's going to take a protest like the convoy.
How do you get that, though? If you look at, we have about 70 to 80% of the housing supply is the small landlords. But how many people work for the government who are landlords?
Not all of them. Not all of them are, I know a lot of investors that don't work for the government. And I think a lot of the investors are either extremely tied up with their work or don't know what's happening, or don't know how it affects them. And that's why it's very important for us to do these things and raise the awareness of what's happening in our cities and what's going on. And I love the fact that you said you're making an email campaign to get the information out there, because if I don't watch the news and I go to work 9 to 5 and I come home and I just want to eat something quick or watch a game and go to sleep, how would I know what's happening? They're changing these bills in the daytime, like you said. Yeah. Bills are going and passing through in the daytime.
We need to have chapters. I think my goal is like having a chapter where someone's paying attention to their city, so we get to know about it and we get to bring it to like the motherboard so that we can send it out. But in order to send it out, it's like right now I need to get MailChimp, I have like spreadsheets of landlords that I've collected over the years, 15 years. So we needed to be able to connect with people, not just on social media, because I'm on every social media and that's the way I have been communicating with people. But I want to do text message, but most importantly, I just want to do an intake form, almost like a membership, no cost to it, but we want to know your name, what your mailing address is to you, so that we can do a mail out to your house to let you know this is what's happening in these cities. This is our call to action. We have to get more organized, because right now we're too divided. A lot of people don't want to pay attention to what's happening here in Hamilton. I'm like, you need to pay attention to what's happening in Hamilton, because it's going to come into your city. And I can tell you from my experience for 15 years speaking with these elected officials, they look at other cities, just like the rent eviction bylaw in Hamilton. Who's actually looking at it? Kitchener was looking at it. Staff said don't do it, but they're still looking at putting that in. Hamilton or Waterloo, same thing. What is Hamilton doing? Like, stop looking at other cities. Do what's best for your city, but they're not. That's why it's so important for us to get the province to speak up and say, hey, municipalities, stay in your own lane. Because if you're just all looking at each other and trying to implement the same thing, then it would be the responsibility of the province to implement such a thing, not these type of municipalities.
And that's an interesting point. They're talking about, on your podcast, actually, we were talking about how the province can step in and take over a bad situation. Like, I think we're in a bad situation in Hamilton right now with all of these things that they're trying to put in place. Like, it does not benefit the supply of housing. No, it's the complete opposite. From the provincial side, you're saying we need more housing. From the municipal side, there's roadblocks after roadblocks. And then all these extra things they want to add. So
there's an election coming up for our municipal election. Because of that, housing is always on the top. Housing's at the top of the federal, housing's at the top of the provincial, and housing is certainly on the top of municipal. When they can listen to other voices, nonprofit, tenant unions, and know what the pain points could be, and then they're just trying to magnify it, do the divide and conquer. It gets the votes of those people to make it look like they've done something, because they don't know what to do. And deep down, I thought I was having some, decisions and solutions to get the private sector in. But we do have a bigger problem, because the smaller landlords, yes, we are a part of the solution. Are we going to be a one size fits all? Hell no. Like, we have people who are struggling. They're struggling with mental health. They're struggling with addiction. We're not social workers. We're not going to be able to go ahead and try to get all these people into our housing units and then it's demolished. I have nonprofit housing providers reach out to me and telling me that they have to knock down the entire unit after they've had somebody in the unit, because they're punching holes in the drywall and filling the wall with needles. So they have to take out the entire, and that comes from their capital expenditures of like with their budget as a nonprofit, or it's coming from government housing. If you look at any shootings that have happened, they're coming in those areas where there is government housing. And I believe there was actually a story. I literally just seen it this morning, and they're talking about the housing, and they're talking about drug dens happening in these type of projects. And that's what they're being called, by congregating multiple people with all these issues together. And this is why landlords, we could put ourselves, like, take one at a time, like get them into housing, but you put so many people together, it's just going to be absolutely horrible.
And the thing is, all these extra things they're trying to put in place, it's going to cost more for the landlord. Yeah. Who do you think the landlord's going to pass the added expense to?
Oh, it's passed down to the tenants.
It's going to be passed down to the tenant. If they're actually fighting for these new things to come, if they don't understand that they're going to be paying for it, it just doesn't make any sense.
Waterloo licensing. They did Waterloo licensing, and now the landlords were able to apply for an AGI because of the licensing. But like my husband was looking at a property there, and I'm like, no, not doing it. He's like, why not? I was like, it's landlord licensing. I am not doing a criminal record check to be a landlord in that city. Like, we can get it from the tenants. Why do you think I'm going to do it? Why did Toronto say that they want to, have no one with a criminal history in their rental units in Toronto? Like, wow. I'm like, you're allowed to say that, but we're not? Like, what is going on here? And I talk to elected officials all the time. I said, back in the day, there used to be a very much of a need to say, oh, you're on assistance? Oh, the money's going to come to me right away? Okay, I'll look at you, because the rent and how much they received was really well. And obviously, it was good money. It was guaranteed money for some people. Now the landlords, every single one of them, if you go on anywhere online, they will not touch anyone that's receiving government assistance.
So, Kayla, what should we do? what is the solution? Because this seems like there's a lot of problems, and I think every problem has a solution.
Well, you look at 15 years of me doing this and finally getting something like Bill 60, where I've never seen it. It's almost like a haircut, They did something really good. It looks good, but you had some kicking and screaming from the tenants. And I think that one part where they did take out about, being able to have an end of tenancy, I think it was key. But again, it doesn't mean we can't get it back. But right now it did get removed. But the province was starting to listen, because they have a lot of other issues. So I can only imagine how long it took them to understand the issues, think about what could actually work for both good landlords and good tenants. But at the same time, we're now almost like spinning our wheels trying to deal with municipalities. So how do you deal with a municipality that does not have the tools? They don't have the resources to create this affordable housing. And then they put it on the backs of the private citizens to do so.
So what would you like to see us landlords do? Because you're a landlord yourself. You're putting in your work. You're putting in your time. You're putting in your energy, advocating for landlords and tenants, and you're fighting for justice. So what would you like us landlords to do to help?
They got to first we got to get them into like understanding who's who. You got Rob Flack, he's the Minister of Housing. You have his associate Grayson Smith. You have Doug Downey, he's the one running the Landlord and Tenant Board. He has his associate Michael Tabolo. Then you have to get to following who your mayor is, all your city councilors. You need to follow them. You need to pay attention, get your head out of the sand, and pay attention to who these councilors are and where they want to be, because we actually have a power. We may not be flashing 190,000 tenanted accounts or tenants in Acorn, but we are landlords, our contractors, our real estate agents. We need to get into our real estate agents' brokerages and tell them this is what's happening. This is why our landlords are leaving and they're going to Alberta and they're going into Costa Rica and Mexico and getting out of the province. And our province does know that. So we have to first and foremost get people very educated on who's who. Then I want them to reach out to me, because I am putting everybody together and trying to say, hey, this is what we need to. I need to be able to tell you what's happening, and you need to know quickly. I don't want them afraid to speak up against their government, because they have a permit that they're waiting on and they don't want to challenge the government. I got myself on committees with the city of Cambridge, trying to pay attention to what's happening, try to have your voice put in there. Do I find these committees great? No, but it could be done better. But we have to get ourselves organized, and that's my goal for 2026 is reaching out to as many landlords, getting on as many podcasts, meeting in person. Sometimes you just need that direction of letting you know who you are. So I don't have to just put a post out and hope for you to see that post on Facebook or see it on Instagram. And not everybody's on Facebook, not everybody's on Instagram. So I know that it's almost like a call list where people just find me on Google. They actually think I'm the Landlord and Tenant Board, because I ask anyone hey, give me a Google review, let me know how it is. And so if you have someone that tries to do negative, it's like, who are you?
So I'm actually looking forward to doing an in-person event with you.
That'd be awesome.
We're going to do an in-person event, and we're going to call out all of landlords, tenants, anybody that wants to,
and our elected officials, agents, anybody that wants to learn on what's happening in Hamilton and other cities in this area. It's everything.
Just giving people that information and letting people know that they have the power to speak up. And the other thing is, they have to be able to know what channels to go to. Like you said, right? You mentioned some names. People don't know a lot of people don't know who these elected officials are. A lot of people don't know who runs what sector. A lot of the landlords don't know. No. I can tell you, I don't know. I don't know, right? And I have properties in the city, and I don't know. I should know, but you're just so consumed with day-to-day life that you just, you're just going with it, right?
Yeah.
But there comes a point that there's a breaking point, and I think there's a breaking point right now.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in Hamilton, and any landlord that's watching this, or anybody that's watching this, realtor, contractor, anybody, you got to be updated with all the stuff that's happening.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Like, they're changing a lot of things, even from permitting. Like, it's a lot harder to get some of these conversions. It's a lot harder to do things for some instances, and a lot more roadblocks and a lot more things happening. And if you don't pay attention, it's just going to pass.
You have a situation where you have nine bylaws that impact you, from vacancy tax, landlord licensing, renovation licensing, the water billing, the air conditioning is now at your doorsteps. You have safe apartment bylaw that just came in on January 1st of 2026. Another duplicate of not only like government services, they're duplicating their own services because they're hidden taxes. And they're doing it because they need money. They need money, and they're using us to be that person to make that money. I can tell you right now, I had a situation with my city where I have a sixplex. My sixplex was, right in the front of the driveway. There was a bit of snow buildup that was there. Not much, very little. It was snowing. It was snowing on the 12th. It was snowing on the 13th. That was enough for the third. They showed up on my doors on there to give notice to the door on the 13th, stating that the snow needs to be gone off of the bottom of your driveway where you drag it out with the plow, and that they came out on the 14th to inspect to see if I did it, and that was $86. Then they came back out on the 16th and did it. They shoveled it down to the concrete. And we're like, you want to go look at your city properties? You want to go look at your road? You want to go look at your sidewalks? Like, you haven't done anything. And at the same time, it was snowing on the 12th. It was snowing on the 13th. And it was snowing on the 14th. But at the same time, they're still trying. And they charged $644.
Oh, my God.
For an opening that shared two driveways to two apartment buildings. And the fact that I never even got notice. They notice is on the door. They're like, well, we put it in the mail. I'm like, you put it in the mail? You're giving me a notice to have it done in 24 hours, but you put it in the mail?
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
It's a business. It's a business for grass cutting. It's a business for snow.
The whole thing is a business, and taxpayers are flipping the bill on everything here. And at the end of the day, there is no justice being served. And that's why, it's very important what you're doing. And it's very important for people like yourself and people like me to join the cause and actually stand up for justice. And you know what? A lot of people don't know what they don't know, like we were talking about, right? And now, raising awareness of the stuff that you're doing with your podcast, and raising awareness coming on our podcast, and we're going to be having in-person seminars is huge.
Yeah. I want to be able to tell you, Manny, this is what's going on. You're going to tell the people in Hamilton.
Exactly.
I just want to, that way I can get more people faster when we're putting leaders in their spot.
We're going to get as many people as you can imagine, because I'm fired up. I'm fired right up.
I tell that all the time. I said I like taking pictures wherever I go and telling people where I am, because I know we have some elected officials following me, and I want them to know I'm influencing people to become me and to speak up, to fight against a system where they're dividing the public, and they're making it look like we're not in it together. But I always even encourage people to, hey, run, just run. I won't. I can't be silent.
Sometimes you're stuck, right? But it was amazing having you on. We could do a part 2, 3, 4. We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I know how to get here.
And we're going to do our seminars. We're going to keep going with it. I would love for our viewers to know how to get a hold of you. If you could just tell us how they could get a hold of you via Facebook, Instagram?
Well, I'm already at my
email?
5,000 friends. I was very selective of who I would be friends with ever since I started, but I'm at my 5,000, so you can follow me now
There you
on
go.
Facebook.
Follow.
I'm on Instagram as Ontario Landlords Watch, as Ann Kayla. I say probably the best way is going to email me at olwlandlords@gmail.com and encourage landlords that you want to start speaking up and using your voice for good, then start off by being on my call-in show that I do every Thursday at 7 o'clock. So that way we can start sharing your voice and your stories and your experience.
And I'm going to share the link in my Instagram for your call-in show. It was a great time to have.
It was good.
It was really fun when we jumped on the call-in show. And we are going to have in-person seminars. I'm going to arrange that because you know what? This is information that's very important and valuable to landlords, to tenants, to investors, to contractors, to everybody that's... It essentially affects everybody.
We just talked about what's happening. We also got to know that we're landlords and we know how to pivot. We know how to do strategy and planning. So we have to do that part, how to get a workaround. But I think you can only do that in person, though.
You know, we will spark a lot of interest with a lot of landlords and a lot of people that don't know. And people, you got to get involved. Like myself, I was not involved as much. But after what I see, all the things that's just coming down.
Yeah.
And I was fighting for the Airbnb. And I was like, okay, that's really bad. And then the next thing was the vacant tax. And then the next thing is what's happening here with all the other stuff, with you know, criminal activity in your unit, you know, the AC. There's so many
landlord
things.
licensing,
licensing
in certain wards right now, but it's going to go citywide in 2 years from now.
Rent evictions. Like, there's so many things, guys. You got to get involved. And I'm going to leave enough information to get a hold of Kayla. And this is not the last time we're together.
But if you're going to call me, you got to text me first. I got to block on my phone.
we are going to be doing things together, and I want everybody to get involved. This is very important. We are all taxpayers. We're all, you know, paying taxes, and we need to know where our taxes go.
Oh, for sure.
At the end of the day, if our taxes are paying for officials that don't care or are negligent or really just, you know, go with the mold and go with whoever's, you know, behind them, it's not fair to us. So,
or does it go to a president of a nonprofit who deals with homelessness and he makes $282,000?
See, and this is why it's important to get involved. Thank you so much, Kayla. I had a blast.
Thanks, Manny.
And you know what? We're going to be doing a lot more things together.
Welcome to the advocacy world.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.